So hello wonderful world. So what have I got in store for you today? Well, it's the review of the Honda NC750x DCT. Now, this isn't an ordinary review. This is a review of a bike that I've ridden from UK to the Chinese border in Pakistan, and now I'm on my way back. So far, I've clocked close to 20,000 miles in the space of just a smidgen over 2 months. So this bike has been put through its paces more than once. Before I tell you the positives, I think this time I'm going to start with the negatives. The name NC750X. The X implies it is an adventure bike. The truth is, this is a commuter bike and it can't compete with the real adventure bikes, the kings of adventure like the Africa Twin, the Tenere, the V-Strom, the GS models. However, it can go off-road. It can do mild off-roading, and I've done that just to prove that point in this video. Let me show you, shall I? Let's begin.
So folks, just wanted to show you a little bit of off-roading with the NC750X. This isn't tough off-roading, but it's off-roading, and therefore it's something that I wanted to share with you on this bike. It does it well. I think if there were heavy rocks we'd have problems, but as it stands, the surface is pretty good, and it's gonna get a little more gnarly, but let's see what happens. Soft, gentle off-road, nothing too hard, but the scenery is fantastic, as you can tell. Look at that, absolutely gorgeous. I guess that's the benefit of having a motorcycle that is a tad adventurous. Even though there are many bikes that do commuting well, this does commuting and, like I said, a little adventure also.
So whilst I'm proving its mild off-road capabilities, let me talk to you about another negative. Its tank, it's only 14 litres, but that isn't just the issue. The issue is that it's situated underneath the pillion seat. So if you're travelling long distance and you've got bags on your rear seat, tied and bungee corded up, you have to take everything off to refuel. And that can take 5 to 10 minutes. It's too long a period, especially when there's other people behind you wanting to fuel up. That is a real negative. I work around that by creating a frame which sits on the pillion seat, which allows me to open the pillion seat to fuel up whilst having the bag on top, so it's elevated by about a foot. The next negative are the front forks. They seem to have problems. This is my second NC750 and the seals always leak. The forks get pitted really quickly, not like my other bikes. So I'm not sure if that's because they're using substandard material or it's just I've had a run of bad luck. The final negative, and this is me being absolutely pedantic through my own confession, is the fact that I think all bikes should have a USB charging port. NC750X, certainly the model I'm riding, doesn't. I fitted one in the front trunk, the frunk, so I've solved the problem. But it's a shame that motorbike companies, especially ones like Honda, Suzuki, Kawasaki, and Yamaha, don't have that as a standard, a requirement that most people need for charging their phones, GoPros, and any other electrical device that we carry. Before I start with the positives, let me just say I will put a spec sheet at the end of the video with all the nitty-gritty specifications that some people like to read, like myself. But I won't talk through them because we're talking about real riding experience with the NC750. So in case you think, because I quoted so many negatives, that I'm not so happy with this bike, you would be mistaken. I think this bike is an absolutely fantastic offering, and the NC new concept really does hold its own. Now let's first start with the new concept part of this bike. It has a 22-litre trunk at the front where normally a tank sits. This is absolutely fantastic. It's secure, lockable, and you can put so many useful things, which mean you don't have to get off the bike to get to your important possessions like your phone, like small toolkits, like anything that you want to carry, like food, drink. It saves putting a top bag on. If you wanted to put a top bag, you've got more storage, but for me, I prefer not to have a top bag, so this works well for me. Secondly, it's a nimble bike. It's so nimble. Its center of gravity is so great because the fuel tank is at the rear. It spreads the weight and it feels like an extremely light bike, even though it exceeds 235 kilograms. That is a useful thing to have, a bike that feels light and nimble. The next positive is because I have a DCT, it comes with a handbrake. This is really useful. Often we try to park our bikes in a position so they don't roll back or they sit comfortably, and parking on a hill is often a no-no. With this, I can park anywhere, apply the handbrake, and it doesn't move an inch. Often deemed a negative is its speed or lack of torque, but to be honest, the DCT in particular has Tiptronic function, so you can drop gears so quickly and keep in a lower gear that often gives you a lot more power and thrust. So I've never found this to be a slow bike. In fact, I've raced with an Africa Twin and I've raced with a GS 1200 and I never fell behind. I kept up with them, so I have no issues in terms of its speed. It's not a sports bike. Let's not confuse this with a sports bike. It's a commuter, an adventure commuter, and it does well. It does what it says on the tin. Next great point is its fuel efficiency. Miles per gallon, it's quoted as doing up to 80 miles per gallon if you ride in D, which is economy drive. But I can tell you this, it can do a lot more, and to prove that, I'm going to show you a picture. Wait for it, just a little more longer. Here, from a journey of over 100 miles, I averaged a 94.7 miles to the gallon. That's pretty good going. Now to show you the beauty of the bike from different vantage points, and of course to honor my promise and share with you the spec sheets. Spec sheet over, and now it's time for my overall conclusion. To be frank, as an owner of an NC750X, the second one, and having ridden this such a long journey, such a long distance over a very short period of time, I am extremely happy with this bike. This is by far a bike that I would class as an all-rounder, and there's very few that come close to touching this. There are some haters who say it's a slow bike and it's lethargic, but it's fit for purpose. It's not supposed to be a sports bike. And for those leaving 125s and coming up a grade or two, this is a great bike to start off with. And for those that have left biking are returning, this is a great bike to return to. Thank you for watching, and it's time now for me to say goodbye. So for those on two wheels, ride safely. God bless you all.